Washington has a pretty straight tip that there may be an attempted sabotage when the fleet passes through the canal tomorrow night.
Humble self responsible for tip. Noticed large increase in number of secret agents since fleet ordered back to Pacific.
Well, what is wrong?
These are cigarettes from Mr. Godley's body.
Godley's? They are poison.
Senor Manolo, how you know secrets shared only by police and murderer?
What do you make of it, Charlie?
Too soon to make much, but unusual method of causing death is Reiner's signature to crime. Godley and Reiner play cat and mouse game, and mouse strike first.
He mustn't strike again. With the fleet scheduled to go through the canal in the next 18 hours, we've got to work fast.
And we had like the Charlie Chan Theater, we had the Adventure Theater, we had Sherlock Holmes Theater, and we were all exposed to all those Universals and great films. And you're just like, and you started to, it was like popcorn. You couldn't stop eating them, but they were always on at like 2 a.m. or Sunday afternoon at 3.
I have a question for you. Charlie Chan being a somewhat tone deaf franchise, to say the least.
I love them.
Sidney Toland was one. I mean, who was it? There was 2 that did it originally. 2.
Actually, there were 3 or 4.
There were more than 2.
Yeah.
Well, the popular ones you can access now feature the 2 guys that were, I think, considered the prime time. And then when they remade that movie, featuring combat radio veteran Richard Hatch of Battlestar Galactica, who since passed away, they used Ustinov as Charlie Chan. Like they went with the same gimmick. Now, did they do that as a joke, as like an in-joke to the original?
No,
or... Why did they do that?
The movie was a joke anyway. It was very tongue-in-cheek, It was just like, I went, but I was like, oh, that's a little silly for Charlie Chan,
Was it still acceptable?
You don't have Mantan Moreland, you don't have Number One Son,
Okay. Let's just pause on Mantan Moreland, because he was always the best actor in these things.
Oh my God. What a great
He was way better. He was way better.
He was even funny on Adam 12.
Yeah, he was good. But do you think they get Ustinov and say we're doing Charlie Chan because it's still acceptable to have an actor like a white actor shift into different races instead of casting someone from the culture itself? Or do you think it was like, that was ridiculous that they did that in the 40s, so we're going to homage the ridiculousness? I mean, how do you think they went about that? Is that what they did?
I think that's exactly what they did. That's it, exactly. You completely nailed it, because Sidney Toland was, Sidney Toland was just a regular day player guy. He worked in all these pictures, but he was always a police captain or somebody else. And they did the same thing with the eyes and all that. It's like Edward G. Robinson and the Hatchet Man. It's like,
okay, but before you go Hatchet Man, let's just continue on the shamelessness that was the Charlie Chan friend.
Oh yeah, but it's. I think that's exactly what it was. Remember, they were doing like Murder by Death and all the other like comedies.
Yeah, but Murder
at that time,
So,
Tutu Twain's house. Come on.
All right, so I don't know that it can be excused in Murder by Death either. Although that was Peter Sellers who did it, and he was gold at the time. And I have a feeling that he was what got the financing for the film, and he probably insisted, Sellers being Sellers, on being Charlie Chan.
And where are we going anyway, Pop? And who is this Mr. Twain who invited you for the weekend? And what did he mean by dinner and a murder?
Questions like athlete's foot. After a while, very irritating. To stop car, please.
What's wrong?
Stop car, please. To shut engine off, please. Listen.
I don't hear nothing. What do you hear?
Double negative and dog.
So it's a dog, so what?
If I'm not mistaken, dog belonged to Mr. Dick Charleston.
Who's Dick Charleston?
I am, thank you. I say, you don't happen to have seen a little white...
Wang.
A white Wang?
Good heavens, Sidney Wang.
What are you doing in this godforsaken spot?
No doubt, same as you. looking for a bridge that lead to home of host, Mr. Lionel Twain.
You too, huh? Must be important to invite two such eminent detectives.
Excuse, please, to introduce a Japanese son, Wei.
Hi.
Japanese, but I thought surely you...
Mrs. Wang and I could never have children. Willie adopted number 3 son.
My pleasure. Be careful on this road. It's treacherous.
Treacherous road like fresh mushroom. Must always... Idiot! Not finish mushroom story. You're idiot!
Is that who he is in that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I love how they cast an actually very effective Asian actor to be his son, who's actually seems to be much smarter and much more, which is kind of like the show was. Like the previous movies, the kid was much more swift than his dad, it seemed at times. But yeah. So Murder by Death is...
Well, even the old movies, they were, they still had cast the Asian son, Yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see production notes on those movies from that time to kind of get into the thinking of why they decided that was the way to go, and that's what we're going to stick with. And because it was not convincing, and it was in really bad taste. I think it was in bad taste even for the time, honestly. And so I'd love to see all the archive notes, and I'm sure they're in a studio vault somewhere. Actually, they've probably been tossed out.
Well, they did a
rubbish
release of all the Charlie Chans at one time, but the documentaries were really intense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was all kinds of stuff, like you said, looking at the production notes, when the stuff was done, where they shot it, all this kind of stuff, and just the history of this stuff, and you're just like, wow, the supplements were fantastic.
Your road to redemption is paved with tombstones. No quarter, kill all masters. Go to noquarterkillallmasters.com. Rated R.